now getting into the first conversation for the day, which is about Nigeria moving up in the global aviation rating from 49 to 70.5. But
the General Secretary, Aviation Safety Roundtable Initiative, Olumide Ohunayo, is standing by. He's also joining us virtually this morning.
It's a hot topic, and so we need to have two persons who will tell us what are the benefits, what more can the aviation sector do to harness the potentials in the industry. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us. All right, how are you doing this morning?
I'm fine, good morning.
Okay, so let's fly into the conversation. How did you receive the news that Nigeria has moved up in the global aviation rating from 49 to 70.5? Did that come in as a good news for you? Do you feel like, oh, finally we're getting there?
So, yes, was good news for the industry. Now the operators can have access to dry leasing aircraft, which was an issue in the past due to some violations by one or two airlines that blacklisted, that made Nigerians be blacklisted from getting those dry lists. So letters were only releasing aircraft on a wet list basis, and that's what a big expensive for Nigeria. Cost of insurance, cost of leasing, and even when you go to negotiate for other aviation equipment. So I think with the tax direction that has not been signed and put in place, that would help in alleviating that stress and make leasing more affordable and more pocket friendly.
All right, so there's a conversation I had started off with Blessing, and she said I should not get into the challenges. But I mean, in the spirit of trying to shape policy and advance development, news filtered early on this month that the United States had shut direct flights from Lagos as the bilateral window closes. I'd want you to speak to that, and I mean, let's juxtapose that with the recent celebration that we have now in the aviation sector.
But can you take that question again?
All right, so the United States, Nigeria lost United States Category 1 status as the country's airline failed to operate directly to the country for 2 years. So the new United States Federal Aviation Administration law says that failure of any country's airlines to operate directly to the U.S. for 2 years or vice versa could lead to a loss of the Category 1 status. Now, with this removal, Nigerian airlines, including those planning to commence direct flights from say Lagos, cannot operate directly to any city or airport in the U.S. until the country is re-audited and re-certified by the United States Federal Aviation Administration.
Okay, well, I think the two are not related. The first one had to do with actions when we lease aircraft. Let me go back to the first one. It stemmed from the Cape Town Convention, or well, it's a convention that deals with the protection of aircraft assets that are being financed. And the idea is that for aircraft's engine and other aircraft spares that are being collected from an organization or from a lessor, those assets are protected and can easily be retrieved if there's a breach in a payment or the agreement. That was the basis of the Cape Town Convention. And along the line, this was about 2001. Nigeria signed in 2006 and domesticated 2007. But after the domestication, we had one or two cases. I only mentioned one of the airlines who was found arrested, First Nation, who leased an aircraft and ran to a Nigerian court. And getting to the court, they were able to hold on to that aircraft. Then the second airline did it, and Nigeria was blacklisted. Then on that blacklisting, most of those costs of leasing increased, our insurance increased, and we were not getting dry list aircraft anymore. Dry list means that you can give it aircraft, you bring it here, you register it, we give it a registration, and maybe when you want to return it, when you want to return, not me, when you want to return the aircraft, you deregister and then take it back to the owner. But then they had to stop that because of that breach. They had to come with their work list. They only agreed to work list. And what is here is the ACMI, aircraft crew maintenance and insurance, all paid for by the lessor. So it was not bringing the employment, but they were going to come with the crew. They were maintaining, they were paying insurance. So all Nigerian operator was doing was just paying for all that directly to the lessor, which was more expensive, and that also affected the cost of operation, and also affected fares, and also brought about the lack of aircraft, enough aircraft within the Nigerian airspace. And that was how they reacted. But on the category 2, or the category 1, sorry, that we talked about, it's just a bit different from the ICAO certification safety audit we do. ICAO is universal, while for the FAA is for America. So America says that for you to come to our country and operate with the aircraft and the airline, you need to be the category 1 certification. We had a certification. We have not been downgraded. We are only delisted. Let's get this fact right. And luckily, it's delisted. They are not downgraded. Because downgraded means you will have to go through all the process from the beginning and total auditing. But if you have certification, it's a general rule in safety. It's nothing to get panicky about. Or if you have any certification in aviation safety related in our industry here, you must show practicality. You must show that you have been using it. So when you don't use it, it lapses, and you have to go through that process of getting certifying again. Now, because there was no airline operating from Nigeria in those 2 years, there's a need for them to come back and inspect and ensure that we still have all those processes, laws, facilities, and infrastructure that granted us this category 1 before. So all it takes is and we cannot go now. So we want it back. It is when we are sure that we have an airline that is ready to operate, such it will not lapse again, and we just go back and apply. But the luck we have is we have not been told that we have been delisted, so we need to prepare very well before we call them to come back. And in that part of that preparation is to have an airline that's going to operate on the Lagos American routes.
All right, Dr. Dayo Kayode has joined us now virtually. He is an aviation expert. Welcome to the show.
Yes, it's my pleasure being with you this morning. How are you?
I'm good, and I hope you are too.
Sure.
All right, so we've been talking about Nigeria's improvement in compliance with the Cape Town Aviation Convention. Could you speak to what that Cape Town Convention is exactly, the Cape Town Convention on dry leasing? What Nigeria's movement upward in the global rating would mean for the aviation industry?
Yes, you see, there's no doubt about it that the aviation ministry, led by the minister, have been doing a lot of work, especially when you consider what has been happening to us now in this movement, and the issue of air peace to Nigeria, and then the issue of going around the world to ensure that we have good contractual leasing agreement with the leasers, no doubt about that. Then when you're now talking about the Cape Town Convention, also, we have tried as much as possible as a country to ensure that what we have been experiencing before now in terms of attending to contractual agreement, ensuring that contractual agreement are being followed accordingly. Yes, there's also been a kind of an improvement there. Thank God that I was listening to the other guest when he was trying to define wet leasing, dry leasing, then the issue of ACMI, so I wouldn't want to go to all that again. However, despite that movement, there is no investor that will come to any country that is not that cannot be trusted when it comes to the political environment. And talking about political environment, it also includes the area of adjudication when there is a breach here and there. No doubt about it, this is outside the functions of the aviation ministry. These are part of the environmental concerns that can affect all their movements and all their achievements. I'm saying this so that government will know that despite the good activities, despite the achievements of some ministries, there are still some encumbrances that can affect them when it comes to the world view. Imagine the example he gave just now, as regards some people, airline, leasing aircraft, and when there was a breach in agreement, they quickly ran to the court. And what are you going to get from the court? So government needs to improve the kind of value that they are placing on our country when it comes to dealing with the outside world. Because the whole world is now a global village. Whatever you do in your country will definitely have effect, a multiplier effect on your relationship with the outside world. So going further on this, we need to ensure that we improve on our political environment and our adjudication system, as this will always have a multiplier effect on our relationship with the outside world, especially the aviation industry, which we are discussing about now.
All right. Let me just get you into the conversation, Dr. Dayo. For me, you sound very impassioned. I'd want to know if you could put your thoughts in words, what you make out of the current state of the Nigerian aviation sector. I just want to know what you make out of the aviation sector as it's constituted right now.
Yes, aviation sector presently is having a minister that have been able to learn fast the ropes within the industry. Because sometimes when I listen to him talk, I just wonder, and this is somebody that I was skeptical about, being a lawyer and an activist when he was being appointed to that ministry. But I think on this same your program, I applauded him when the issue of airpeace and that of British authorities happened, the way he followed it headlong. And to that extent, he has been moving all the stakeholders in the industry to come together and ensure that there is development within the industry.
Now, looking at what has happened with the aviation industry and these improvements, you mentioned that before, the listing that's happened actually made things quite expensive in terms of the operation cost for the aviation industry. But now that investor confidence seems to have been boosted with this improvement with the dry leasing of aircraft, and what do you think would happen with the cost of aviation running, and even with fares? We've seen a significant increase in airfares lately, but with this now and maybe more investors wanting to participate in the aviation industry, would this have any implication on the cost of fares?
Well, everybody's always interested in the fares. I'm also interested. That's why I've been in the industry. I've been trying to go to Abuja in the last 1 month now. I'm still saving to be able to get that ticket at the fare that I can afford. But I think there's a mix up there in your presentation. The listing had to do with the Category 1 question with respect to the US FAA standard. While for the the Cape Town Convention, what we did was we moved on the ranking that was before. We moved up from Poly, where we are about 70 or so before, and moved up to about 35, if I get that number right. But the important thing that we have moved up the ranking based on that party's direction that was signed by the Honorable Minister, with the President and the Federal High Court. What we were doing before was that these operators were thrown into the courts to ensure that the lessons don't get the aircraft when there's a breach of agreement, or when they cannot, when there's a breakdown communication between Nigerian leases and the lessors. So they were using the courts to hold on to those assets. And the Cape Town Convention primarily is the objective of the convention is to protect all these assets, all these finance assets, is to protect the lessor, that these assets are not held up unnecessarily and it's returned. And we signed that we will do this within 10 days. What they've done with this process direction is that within 5 days, that the assets will be registered and export process would begin, and that will be done within 4 or 5 days. That's an improvement. And if as for the implication, I can tell you that makes access to those critical equipment, aircraft, engines, spares, becomes easy. Now, if they're coming as dry, you now have employment for Nigeria, because what dry here means the aircraft is coming, it's only the aircraft that is coming. You now have to use a Nigerian crew, Nigerian engineer. You have to now use Nigerian insurance companies to insure the aircraft now. That brings more money to the insurance company. And again, the cost of leasing goes down. Then, if you're looking at tickets, yes, we expect that there will be effect. But what we have right now is that the supply is not meeting demand in some cases, but now that it has gone astronomical now, you see that even with the demand, the aircraft are still not there. So if we are able to get more equipment, if our airlines can also improve corporate governance, and the agencies are also need to look at some of the charges and payments made by these operators to see if that can, if some of them can be waived or brought down. Because it's for me, it's a bit difficult for me to understand why the regulator, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority and the Federal Authority of Nigeria are among the first 10 organizations in Nigeria that generate revenue for the federal government. Those organizations are among the 10. Those we provide services for are all groaning. So there's something wrong. And they must look at that. And we must also understand that without the passengers, there are no airlines. And without the airlines, there are no airports. And without the airports and agencies, there will be no revenue for government. And when there's no revenue, there's no economy. And without aviation, there's no economy. So there must be a delicate balance. We must find a way to attract passengers to fly. And when fares hit the roof, passengers will not fly. Passengers can only afford flights that are friendly and those that have disposable income. But at the present state of the economy, is not encouraging flights. And that must be addressed. So it's not only it's not an issue for the Nigerian aviation industry alone. It's an issue for Nigeria. Unlike the doctor said, in bringing respect for ourselves, we must be able to show the internal community too that we have sanctity for agreements. We must learn from what has happened to us in Ogun State. That the world is becoming a global village. There's no way you can run to, even if you don't go there, something you own or you have any liquid will be seized. Or will be held on to, will be used as collateral. So I'm sorry for that digression. But going back to that question, I think the agreement has come in a good time. It has shown that Professor Kayode has used his legal background to push this party's direction in the appropriate place to help the economy. Even if he doesn't do anything in the industry, I think this one is a good one for him. Again, I also have to commend him with what he has done with pushing pushing the Nigerian narrative. Yes, this for the first time we are seeing a minister that is fighting for domestic airlines to participate, to operate, to be comfortable, provided they also meet their own bargain of providing good services to Nigeria. That has not happened in a long time, because what you see is almost all the ministers we had always immerse their self-interest into what the town as national interest. At the end of the day, your purpose is defeated, and that was why the Nigerian air was a complete failure.
All right, thank you so much, Olumide. But then I'd want to get back to Dr. Dayo Kayode. I learned his internet has improved. Dr. Dayo, you are speaking to the state of the aviation sector. But then if we had to juxtapose the, news making the rounds, which is improvement in ratings, in accordance with the Cape Convention, how would all of these play out? I mean, place them side by side. How would all of these look if the cost of air travel is not reduced? We have the global rating rising to 70.5%. We have a minister who seems to be getting a hang of what the aviation sector is. We have a Nigerian carrier taking Nigerians to London. But then all of this, the cost of air travel is reduced. And if people are not traveling by air, airlines will suffer. I mean, if airlines suffer, they're not remitting anything to government, it's the economy. So if we're talking about linkage effect, how would all of these play out when the cost of air travel is still very exorbitant?
Yes. For us to reduce the cost of air travel in Nigeria, we must all, especially from the ministry, abhor from corruption. We must abhor from corruption. Let us say the way it is now. Listen to this. Look at Lagos, London Gatwick, and then Ghana, London Gatwick. They are almost of the same distance. But now I want you to do your investigation. How much are we paying here to London, and how much are they paying from Ghana to London? And these are issues somebody like me have been pushing for how many years now? We are all aware of the allegation being put on one particular aviation minister in the past that the airlines went to buy house for in the UK. I'm talking about the allegation against that particular minister. So these are issues that we need to put together and say, let us stop corruption in this country so that people can have a meaningful living standard. Look at your other guest saying that he wanted to travel to Abuja, but they have been trying to save money now for the past 1 month. How about if it is an emergency? What happens? So, okay, you will even understand this better when you look at the corruption that we are facing as regards our pump price of petroleum. Look at the way we are dilly-dally, pushing these things here and there. Like I said, the ministers might be working, but the environment might not be conducive for those things to come out clearly. Like for Koyamo, what he has done so far, I'm sure he would have loved to even reduce the cost of air travel. But what can he do? When in that place, there are people that we call Kappa, not only even in aviation, they're also in the presidency. The presidency, you want to have his own chunk from the industry. The ministry, you want to have his own chunk from the industry. So where do you think the operators will put all the costs? It's going to be on the passengers. And like he rightly said, without the passengers, there can't be airline. Without the airline and the passengers, there can't be fine. There can't be NCAA. There can't be all those agencies. So we need to come together and shun corruption so that people can fly. People will want to fly. For instance, I want to go to Abuja now. Tell me, where do I get the flight money? I have to look for a road transport operator that will be at least comfortable for me. And it is not too good. Go to abroad. You see people flying all of the time on excursions, on holidays here and there. It is only when the prices of air travel comes down that we now see Nigerians appreciating what we call holidays, appreciating what we call going to like Obudu Ranch, going to Jos to go and enjoy the weather, going to various tourist centers that we have. But then look at how much money we are losing from that. So to ensure that the prices of air travel comes down. One, the analyze. They must also reduce their prices. The thing reduce their prices. Then all this from this, from that, they must also reduce it. Because at the end of the day, the operators will definitely pass it to their customers. Who does business without making profit? They are out to make profit. And unfortunately, the Nigerian Airways that we were having before, that were flying almost 21 routes in Nigeria. Where is it today? Where is that Nigerian Airways today? It has been the aircraft have been sold to themselves. And then where are even their airlines? Gone into comatose. So we need to reduce all those taxes. One, two. We also need to encourage other players to come in, because it is only when you have competition in terms of having a lot of operators operating from, for instance, Lagos to Abuja. Let's say we have about 10 operators. Do you think that price will be like that? No, because you want to entice customers to come in and fly you and fly your airline. Then there won't be delays. All these delays that we have been experiencing, it won't be there. So government too, especially the ministry, what Kayamo is doing, should encourage other operators to come in through this eating of Nigeria.
Okay, we apologize for the poor quality there, visual and audio quality, due to the poor connection from Dr. Dayo Kayode's end. We do hope that before we have to bring him in again, that will improve, at least to take us till the end of the conversation. Now, Olumide, Dr. Dayo Kayode has highlighted lots of issues with the aviation sector. The high price of fares, which I asked earlier, which TC talked about, and you also talked about. It seemed like for every Nigerian, what would mean that the aviation industry is improving is when there's a reduction in the cost of fares, not just for domestic airlines, but for or domestic travels, for international travels. But with this improvement now, with this new rating of Nigeria, meaning that some investors will have more confidence in trying to partake in it or lease aircraft, will this open up competition and improve the quality of aircraft used in Nigeria? It is one thing for the price of fares to be high. It is another thing for you to see some aircraft and you're wondering, like, okay, maybe the engines and every other thing pass the safety test, but even looking at it, it doesn't feel like the quality that people are getting is commensurate with the fare that they are paying. So what does this do in terms of competition and quality for travelers?
Anyway, let me start by saying the industry is being labeled now as an industry that is sensitive and fares are high. But the truth is, aviation is not in isolation. Aviation is a subset in the economy. And whatever fare you're seeing in the economy is what we are giving out, what the economy is giving out. We can at the time tickets were sold in this country for 3,000 naira. Aero, if you just did Aero was doing online booking. If you book about 2 months ahead, 3,000 naira, and you'll be sitting with a passenger that's paying 27,000 naira on the same flight. Depending on the day of travel, that's how the price was ranging. Some years back, Ghana was selling cheapest fare, 9,000 naira. tickets sometime last year was 50,000 naira, 45,000 naira if you book early. But now, today, if you book early, the list you get about 150 to 160,000 naira. And if you walk up to the counter on the day of travel, you're sure you're going to pay about 250,000 naira minimum. But it's a reflection. Today, aviation fuel is over about 8,000 to 8,003 per liter. That's the highest ever. From about 600 to 700 naira in the past. And it has always been deregulated anyway. So what has made it to go up now? Why is it going up with PMS that was not deregulated all the while? But because it's not deregulated, the aviation fuel and diesel must go up. So if fuel is a major cost component of airline operation. The second cost is about 60 to 70% of the things you use in the process of production of a flight are denominated in dollars. The rate of exchange rate today is about 1,600 to 1,700, the highest ever. And so how will fares come down? And like Kayode said, nobody's in the business to lose. Everybody comes to make profit. And if you cannot make profit, at least make that money back. Even if there's no profit on it. Because if you run out of it, you will stop flying. And then today, none of the airline is profitable. That's the truth. No. They are struggling to just make it by the day. But coming to your question, the aircraft that we're talking about now that we have access to is not about quality here, because we have airlines that have been buying brand new aircraft. I can tell you, Overland has bought brand new aircraft, Ibom Air has bought brand new aircraft, Airbus has bought brand new aircraft, and one or two have ordered. So it's not quality here now, because nobody's I doubt if there's any Nigerian airline will be able to dry lease a brand new aircraft. I said we are dry leasing to own. But it will not be good business wise to dry lease a brand new aircraft. So it's not about quality now, we're looking about quantity. So you have more aircrafts in the system to supply. But again, Fund has told us they have 21 airports. Out of the 21 airports, only 3 are viable. And if only 3 out of the 21 airports are viable, you're looking at about 13% of the airports, and which is your major revenue component is the airports. Now, if only 3 out of 22 airports are viable, it's about 13%, and yes, you are in the top 10 of revenue generation to the federal government, there's something wrong with that mathematics. Somebody is paying for that. Somebody's paying for that. It's you and I. Through the ticket fare, strangulating the airlines, strangulating other service providers. You cannot have 3 out of 22 and yet be among the top 10 in revenue generation for the federal government. And 50% of the revenue. You're expanding directories. You have about 12 directors now from the initial 7 or 8 that was there before. So that means you have enough money, too much money, at the detriment of those who are charging them high. Even those who rent shops and terminals at the airport also pay high rents. And how would they get rent back? They have to put in the service in the charge. So we need to address that before we begin to talk to the airlines about ticket fares. It's not only the airline issue, the airline that has issues now. IATA told us here to our face last year, October, that Lagos and Abuja airports are the most expensive airports in Africa. So how do you expect that the charge from Lagos to Gatwick will be the same thing from Accra to Gatwick, like Kayode said? When you have the most expensive airport, because when you say you have the most expensive airport, it's not because of building it. It's the cost of operating that airport.
Right. If we have more time to talk about some of the issues why airports in Nigeria are considered to be the most expensive in Africa. But time is not our friend here. Quickly, before we wrap up the conversation, your final thoughts on this, Dr. Dayo Kayode. Now that we have moved up in the global rating, what should be next for the aviation sector so that it is not just to say we've moved up in rating, the Nigerian consumers of the aviation industry can actually say we're seeing something good happen here?
Yes. Two areas I will go into here. Number one, the government must be deliberate in protecting its currency. Because when government doesn't protect its currency, the exchange rate we are having now will still be going up and it will be affecting the industry. That's number one. Number two, like Olumide said, let me even ask Olumide, the cost of aviation fuel that we are having now, is it real?
Yes.
Or it has been loaded? Do you understand? It has been loaded. We're not supposed to be buying aviation fuel at this price. You see, I've been saying something over time that it's a pity. We Nigerians, we don't read. We don't do investigation. When you told me we're going to be talking about wet lease or dry lease or whatever yesterday, despite the knowledge I have, I still made some research early this morning. Now, let me tell you, look at that policy of NNPC. NNPC, direct supply, direct purchase policy. If we had followed it without any form of corruption, food will not be selling more than 50 naira per liter. More than 50 naira per liter. I did that perspective and blow out. Even at that, we are not supposed to be buying fuel more than 20 naira per liter in this country. But because fraud is everywhere, and that is why we are having that price of aviation fuel so high. And when that thing is so high, do you think the operators will just buy and will not put those costs on consumers, which are the passengers? And when it becomes too high, tell me who will fly? Okay, let me also give you another thing. American Embassy. Now they change their contractor. That is the person you supply your passports to, and then retrieve from them. Those people are now charging extra 90,000 naira. Now tell me, how will people now want to fly? It's because government is just deliberate in putting hardship on the people. Deliberate. If government is not deliberate on that, they wouldn't have allowed aviation fuel to be selling at that price. And they will have been deliberate. They will have been deliberate in protecting
on the people.
Protecting
government is trying to
currency.
prioritize revenue generation, which it needs for a lot of purposes. The NCAA
Oh, that's not the thing. You don't generate revenue by putting pressure on the people.
Are they justifiable? Are they not for the maintenance of the airport and its facility? Could you quickly speak to that?
Yes, let me tell you, when you want to maintain your airport and those facilities, those things are also dollarized. No doubt about it. And when your exchange rate is high, definitely maintenance of airport and all that will also be high. What I'm saying here is, let government be deliberate in protecting its currency. Listen to this. People are saying Nigeria is not producing anything. Okay, what is Cotonou producing that is making their currency to be higher than that of Nigeria? What is Cotonou producing? What is Ghana producing that is making cedis to be higher than that of Nigeria? This is a question we need to ask ourselves. We need to ask ourselves some salient questions before we be able to adopt the government, whether they are doing the right thing or not. People are now hungry.
This conversation to another time where some of these salient questions would be asked. In the meantime, we celebrate the achievement of the aviation industry moving from 49 to 70.5. Well, we would say it's a good one, but there's more that can be done by the minister and all stakeholders in the aviation industry so that travelers like Dr. Dayo, Kayode, Olumide, and even TC Barra and myself and other Nigerians can at least have a sigh of relief when they need to travel. Thank you, gentlemen, for being part of the conversation today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for having me.
Regards, Dr. Kayode.
Regards, Olumide.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.